Thank you, Larry. Today we have, and I thought it was something a little bit different, talk about the newspaper and how it's built. I mean, there's stories out there about the newspaper is for sale. We're looking at maybe having somebody buy it here. We have somebody interested, and we're talking to them. But over the course of time, I thought about working with family. Me and Mary and my mom bought the company in 1990 from our grandparents, Merle and Betty Pepple, her mom and dad. And I think of other families in town. We've been blessed to work with my grandparents, my mom over the years. I think about the Guilfors and Pat and her son at King Craig Insurance, Paul Yoder and Dean at the Yoder Construction, Larry and Barry down there at the hardwood and furniture store. And over the years, we've been able, a lot of family businesses in town that continue to work together and have worked in the past together. And that's always a blessing, and it's fortunate to be able to do that with family. We also have another family called my work family, and I spend more time sometimes with these three girls and my mom and the people there at the office than I do in my home. Jan Hufflefinger's been there, I always say 85 years. She's been there close over 50 years. 51. She started with Merle and Betty at the company in 1970. Stephanie Feely is our graphic designer. We're blessed to have her come over from Edgerton. She's a Lingby from Edgerton, so she's close. And then Colleen Richter, who started writing for us about, 5, 6 years ago, probably? 3.5, see how fast it goes. But Steph Mazur, we've had George Cherry, Bill Metz, Jim Battershell, like I said, Stephanie Mazur. We've had different writers, Diane Clark, that currently writes for us and different things. And over the course of these, 30 years that we've had it, and then the other 20, over 50 years of family business, different writers, different people working within the company. We're blessed. I'm very thankful for that. So things change over time. Nothing ever lasts forever. But I thought it'd be neat to have Jan and Stephanie and Chloe kind of talk about what they do for the company and their role and their kind of job description and how they've worked with the community and staff and different things. So who wants to talk first? Colleen, come on up.
Always volunteer. I'm the new kid on the block, obviously. I'd retired a number of years ago because of some health issues, and then I got better and I got bored, and I saw that the Tribune wanted somebody to write feature stories, and I thought, I can do that. I hadn't written anything since college, but why not give it a shot? And they did give me a chance. Sent me out on my first interview with Sharon Sweet, who was retiring from teaching. And I was so scared. I thought, I'm going to screw this up. They're going to tell me never come back. But Sharon just told her own story. And that's what I've discovered is most people have a story to tell, and if you just listen and let them, they will tell you what you need to know, and all you have to do is write it out with correct grammar and punctuation. It's not always that easy, but it has been a really rewarding experience. Probably one of the most rewarding things I've done in my life is because I've gotten to know a lot of people and learned their stories. I've learned a lot of stuff that I did not know, and I never would have had that opportunity if it hadn't been for Mike and Mary Ann. They kind of adopt you. We are family, it's true. And I had worked with my mother for a number of years, so I know how that works, and it works really well at the Tribune. To get a story, they'll get an idea, or someone will give them an idea, or I'll be in my bonnet about something, and we set it up. We set up an appointment, an interview, and go from there. And they've never turned down anything I've written, which I think is kind of amazing. But the stories just kind of keep on coming. Even in a small town like Hicksville, there are so many people with so many stories. I guess that's the way to put it. I wasn't the first person to say everyone has a story to tell, but it's true. Everybody does have a story. And if we haven't told yours yet, time's running out, but give us a call. So I write things up, send them in, and then Jan and Stephanie take it from there. There might be pictures or illustrations or some such thing that go along with it. And it gets printed in the paper and you all read it. And we've had a lot of compliments on the stories that we've run through the years. A few not so complimentary things, and that's to be expected, but that's the way it is. So again, I really do enjoy writing for the paper, and Mike said he wouldn't sell me with the paper, but if somebody buys it and they want me to write something, I just might do that again. Thanks.
I'm Stephanie. I'm the graphic designer here at the Tribune. Not so much the paper, but everything else we do, because we do printing and brochures and banners, and people don't always know that. They come in and they ask if we can print something for them. Like, of course we can print anything, but hopefully people figure that out more. And if the paper does go away, we're still going to print things. We're not going away at all. So, yeah. I graduated from art school in 2000, and I've been doing this ever since. Not in Hicksville, but different places around here. But I've been here about 8 years. I think 8 or 7 years, we think. I'm not sure. So, yeah. Anything you need printed, you can email me. I'll print it. Even if you guys design it, I'll still print it. So, yep. Thanks.
No singing. Karaoke.
Hi, my name's Jan Heffelfinger. I think most of you have probably run across me in one place or another. I thought Mike would introduce me as saying that I opened the door the first time they had a paper in Hicksville, but I haven't been here quite that long, but closer than I like to admit. So what I've done, I came into the printing in a really good time, I thought. It was a very interesting time because I came in 71. I started when I was a senior in high school. And it was a time where Merle had just taken over, and they were moving the printing from linotype and the old type of printing to the new, more computer styles. So I've seen a lot of advancements, really, you know, in the last 50 years, there's been a lot of advancements. They had, like I say, I got to see the linotype run. Knopfy, R.A. Knopfsinger was the editor and owner before Merle. And so he was still at the office, and then Merle was an excellent typesetter also on the linotype. And they have them now at like Souders in the Souder Village. They're a really complicated machine, and to watch them was just amazing. I never got to set anything on it because it was always, it used hot lead, and Merle didn't want me to hurt myself. So I did watch it though, but not long after that, then we converted to more of the, they call it the offset, where it was all done just on paper. And then in the last 10 years-ish, has gone to total computer. And so that's different. I was really fortunate to be able to do a lot of the story work. I've done ad makeup sales, things like that. And for me, one of my favorite parts of the paper is the putting the paper together each week. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle to me, and so you just kind of fit things in where they go, and at the end of the day you have a newspaper, so it's a lot of fun. But it's interesting always. You go to the same place, you do the same thing, but it's never the same. It's that kind of a job, and it's not really a job because it's just, you know, it's always with you. It's one of those kind of professions where you're always thinking about it, whether you're in the office or not. I've had the good fortune to work with a lot of great people around town. The schools, particularly, I've been able to go in. I would go in and take pictures of the kids doing, you know, whatever programs or whatever, and my son's generation, usually they're like, Mom, are we going somewhere again to take a picture, go to a ball game? But the kids at school would just call me the picture lady. They didn't know who I was, they just knew that I took the pictures. So that was a lot of fun, and working in the darkroom was also one of the things that I liked best, because we did used to do our own developing the film and made the prints and stuff to go in the paper before we went digital. So there's been an awful lot of changes, and again, I've just been real fortunate to have such a great community to work with, because like Colleen said, there's a lot of special stories out there. Some we get to hear, some we don't, and some we find out after the fact and wish we would have been able to. So it's a small town paper is a great way to keep up with your neighbors and your friends. You don't see the AP and the wire service kind of thing. And I think that's what's allowed the smaller papers to stick around a little bit longer than maybe the dailies, like the Journal and some of those, because now people look at their phones for everything, and that's kind of, it's becoming the newspaper and the magazines, and the print industry is working through a lot, just trying to keep up right now. But it's just been a really good place. I've always had good mentors, Nafi and Merle, and then Marianne and Mike have been great to work for and work with, and it's something that I'll always treasure. I've tried to retire a couple times, but I keep coming back, and I still love it. So we thank you for supporting us for forever, you know, that you have. And it's, when you see a paper, you don't necessarily know what all goes into it, but it's always done wherever you go with a lot of love and a lot of thinking about bringing things to the public that you might not know otherwise. So we appreciate it, and thank you.
15 minutes to go. Good coffee. Like I said, it's a blessing to have these girls and a part of the company. I actually brought some of we have our, each year, once we get done with our values and everything, if you notice in this week's paper, we're at 136. And I asked Jan a couple weeks ago, I said, is that the year? I keep forgetting. That's the year. 1886 was when a paper was founded in Hicksville. There was a couple mergers. There was a couple different newspapers at one time, but they kind of merged into one existing newspaper, and that's the News Tribune. The printing company in Hicksville then bought the newspaper, and a lot of small towns both had your print shop and your newspaper combined. West Bend News, for instance, in Antwerp, the same kind of setup with that. The V Argus before them had a print shop, and you know, different places like that. So it's been a real blessing and a treat to be able to work with the newspaper. Like I said, it's ideas I don't know how many ideas that I have gotten from Rotary, just hearing people speak or hearing other people talk about things, you know, and different things. And I know Larry's been in the paper probably, I don't know, the last 8, 9 times in the past 2 months.
That's what I hear. It's hurting circulation.
We didn't say you might buy the paper, Larry. We thought you'd be interested that way. But Rotary's a big part of the community too, kind of thing. So I actually brought some old volumes. We get our paper hardbound, and it's also microfilmed, and we house it at Bowling Green State University archival system. So everything that we've done from the beginning is archived through microfilm. So there's always something out there. But I brought a 1956 edition of that whole year, a 1980, a 2000, and the thinner ones last year. So if you can see the thickness of the papers, you know, the books, that's the pages, the size of paper, how it was printed on different paper over the time. And you see they've held up well in the hardbound books. They're not yellowed or tore. We've had people come over throughout the years, like I said, Bill and Jim, and they would look through some of the older editions to get story ideas from the past and different things that have happened. But you can see actually how the papers evolved too, with news and information that is getting passed from, you know, word of mouth, companies, different sales going on. There's a hitching post, you know, banner across the bottom from years ago, and different things like that. So feel free to stop over and look through those if you would like. Like I said, the newspaper, the Tribune printing part of the company is still in existence. We're still moving forward. We're innovative ideas, promotional products, different things like that we're going to continue to do, and brochures and postcards and different things like that for our company and commercial products. So anybody have any questions? Larry?
What year did they put the first photograph in? Because I imagine the first papers couldn't do that with the old print.
You know, back, I think in the beginning, there was no photographs. There was probably some art renditions, but they used to have to make a die, because when Jan was talking about, we used to print the paper in-house in pre-1970. There was this huge press, Mom can probably remember, that sat in back of the Tribune, and it would take, each page would go through there, printed one side on letterpress. Okay, this is a whole huge type and pictures and ads. And it would take a long time and a lot of people to build those dies to make those sheets and to imprint on those papers. So you'd have to print one side, let them all hang and dry, and then flip them over and run the back side. And then they'd fold them and put them together. It would take 4 or 5 days to do one edition. I mean, with a lot of people working on it. Does that sound right, Deanna? You were back there then. Joe back there. But, you know, 4 or 5 days. Now it's digital. We email it to Delphus, Ohio. It takes a half an hour to print the whole paper. I mean, it's that fast. But back then, it was, you know, 20 pages, 24 pages, a broader sheet, a lot more information. All these little burgs and towns would pass information. That's how you got your news. From, you know, Mark Center, Williams Center, you know, different communities throughout the area would talk about the different things happening, and people would share it that way. So, does that make sense? But I can't tell you when the first picture ever went in. I mean, it was
didn't think they
back
could
in
do
Ben
that.
Franklin's day, you know, he kind of invented the printing press, but, or Gutenberg. They probably did art renditions and then over time, but to do, back when it was letterpress, like 1956, you would take a picture, send it out, they would make a die of that picture. It would be a reversible imprint with dots in the die, right? And it would imprint letterpress and come out as a photo. And we still have a bunch, we've kept all that stuff. We still have a line of type sitting there. We've kept all the old type and different things. We've got cabinets full of it. So we have old company logos from years gone by that are in a die form that we've kept in file. So, anything else?
Do you know what the cost was for the first paper? A penny?
Yeah, first paper, I wasn't around, Larry.
Well,
But,
But the first version,
yeah, you know, I don't know.
like when you were grandpa?
Well, as for instance, when Merle and Betty bought it, correct me if I'm wrong, Mom, we ran about 4,500 copies in 1970 a week. 4,500. We're down to 1,000 around there over time. So a lot of change in the amount of value for the paper. So I don't remember. I know it's $1 now, Larry. You
well,
come and
yeah,
pick it up.
tell me about it.
And you could tip him too, tips are appreciated. I just wondered if since Jan took pictures for a couple of years, I wonder if she has any idea how many pictures she might have taken for the
Oh,
picture.
thousands, hundreds of thousands probably. We go to football games. Jan did it for years, and she knew all the kids. I mean, being a part of the pick basketball and the plays and everything, and then classroom pictures. I mean, she knew every kid, every grade, you know, kind of thing. I started taking pictures here lately, you know, last couple of years, and you go to the football games and the basketball games, and you couldn't go to everything, the volleyball, the wrestling, the cross country, the golf, it's a bunch. So we've actually relied on parents. Nowadays with phones, they take some great pictures, and you have so many parents now taking pictures during the events. We just ask for them to send them in, so, but, probably hundreds of thousands, I would assume. I mean, a football game, you'll take 100 pictures. We only use 2, maybe 1 or 2 in the paper, you know.
But that was after we went digital, because when we did film, we only did maybe 24 or 36, because.
You'd have to develop the ROL just to see if they turn out okay. Anyway, no,
That
that's how
was
you
a
develop.
little longer process back then.
So,
A lot of pictures,
Yeah.
but a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite memory, picture, or story over the years? Anybody?
A very favorite, one that always comes to mind is, and it was quite a while ago that I did it. His name was Albert Zuber, lived out towards Antwerp, but he was a woodworker, and we just did a story on his, it was like a retirement kind of hobby that he did. But he, talked, and we did a long story. It was really good. He was really interesting and stuff. But when I went to leave, he gave me 2 gavels that he had made. And I still have them, because the other night, one of my grandkids came running out of the extra bedroom with them. And I said, no, you gotta put those away. But just stories like that were always some of my favorites, because you think you're gonna go out there and ask them 3 questions and be done, and you're an hour and a half or 2 hours with them, visiting and just finding out about things. And it's like that a lot. There's a lot of those. I always remember, Leonard Siebeniler, we were just ready to sit down to Thanksgiving dinner one year, and he called and he goes, I've got people out here cutting a Christmas tree, can you come out? I'm like, yeah, okay. So, you never know when you're gonna find a story. Or they were, not refugees, but they were immigrants, and they just happened to be there. And so that was, it was a really interesting, another thing. There's just so many of them, but a lot of fun, a lot of sports related ones. The football when they went to state, just all kinds of, there's just a lot, but it's been a good job.
Mike, I'd just like to say that I always think of your printing in envelopes and brochures and the banners that you do and whatever. And the other night I was at the Huber wine tasting, and there was a pretty glass, and it had a picture of the Huber and words on it and whatever. And Stephanie told me that you can do that also. You can put you can put it on glass also. So I think we need to think out of the box as to what you can and can't offer, and always ask before we go elsewhere, because you have a plethora of things available.
with our promotional products, we open up that whole line. We have a website it's from the glassware to hats to candy. I mean, when my son graduated, I bought candy bars with his name on them, that we offer it's a lot of different things, but tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of different products. We work with different manufacturers throughout the country with a buying group to offer those kind of products and services. So that's helped with our division. Like I said, Stephanie would work with customers directly. We're working on a barcoded key tag to get into an entry door. And every key tag has to be different because of the people buying the membership to get in to that facility. So it's got a barcode on one side and a logo on the other, and they swipe it, and new kind of technology and everything with QR codes, and working with that with banners, and people going by and take a picture of the menu cards or labels you see on tables. That's something new we started here during COVID. we had restaurants coming to us and they wanted something on the table, that instead of giving them a menu, you can take a picture with your phone and read their menu. So, things have changed. So, Mom's got a question.
I just wanna, no, I don't have a question. I just wanna say one thing, you didn't say how long you've been there. How long have you actually worked there?
Myself, I started when I was 4 years old.
That is exactly right.
I would follow my grandfather around. I remember Cliff Gorell, I remember the Gorell boys in
Cliff
town.
Burrell tried to adopt him from me every week. Take him for a donut at the
Started
little
drinking.
diner that was hooked
You
to
know,
our.
there was a little restaurant right beside it. It's
beside our
gone now.
building.
Remember? And he would get me and I would duck my donuts and coffee. I started drinking coffee when I was 4. Like I said, part of the community since I was in 1970. You know, when Merle Betty came over, I would walk up and down the street, mow yards. I used to mow Hinch's yard, and then Dick Cool, Merle Betty's, and then Heights, Steve and Mary bought the Hinch property there. So I would mow Steve and Mary's yard for them and hang out there and just come up and down the Tribune. I remember Guilford's and Colleen and her mom and a lot of different, you know, Paul and George he'd come in every day, George Cherry, great guy, you know, and they would have coffee, the 3 o'clock coffee, and hang out, Bob Jordan, you know, different people in town over the years. But like I said, Hicksville to me is like a home. I mean, I grew up in Auburn and moved away from there in 85 basically after I went to college and moved here, but it's a great place to live and raise a family, so.
I'll tell you, a lot of the world's problems were solved on Saturday morning at the yellow table at the Tribune. Because George Cherry, a lot of people would drop in for coffee with George and Dad, and Sheriff Lester would take part, and they solved a lot of problems that you probably all didn't know about. I had the privilege of listening, and that was a real honor. George was like talking to a history book. He was so bright and held so much of, that and Jan, let's tell one little funny story about people the farmers that used to come in. And we got the biggest kick out of this, because they'd always bring in a vegetable that looked like they thought someone. President Eisenhower, you've gotta see this, it's a squash that looks just like, and you have to miss that, because you don't, that was just great. You could tell stories all day when you've been somewhere, worked somewhere 50 years, but what a privilege and an honor to be able to do this.
Yeah, this was fun. The last 2 stories that I had, I wrote straight broke up. I had a lady call me and said a meteorite had fallen into her yard. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Okay, I won't tell you who or where. There was a meteor in her yard.
Yeah.
Come out and take a picture. It wasn't a meteor, it was a rock that had fallen off a delivery truck and rolled and then went into the wet yard and sunk. You know, it's odd. But, and then I had another lady come in and she kept taking a picture of a UFO up in the sky. And as I kept looking at the picture and I asked her questions, she goes, oh, it just kept moving and darting back and forth. Every time I take a picture, it was there. She was taking a picture inside her living room with a flash. So every time she would flash the picture, it would hit her window. And it would look like it would be a nice little oval, round, bright oval shape in her window. And she kept saying it was a UFO flying around. But that was a very interesting story. Again, I want to thank you, thank Rotary, and I want to thank Jan, Stephanie, Colleen, and Mom for coming today, and we appreciate it. Have a good afternoon.